We welcome to the studio now Taylor Turcotte, candidate for Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District. Thanks for coming on, Taylor.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so what persuaded you to jump in the race to represent Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District in the U.S. House there?
Because I live in Jackson, and because at New Year's Eve I sat at home and there were like rounds of fireworks and then rounds of gunfire. And my mayor's a train wreck, and my city's a train wreck, and the county's a train wreck, and my district is a train wreck. And nothing will ever change, no matter what we do at any other level, until we get Benny out. So that's why I'm running, is because we've got to get him out. And we also have got to change the way that we look at representatives, because District 2 is a completely different ballgame than any other district in the country. Basically, it's poor. Benny has basically let it go since he got in there in 1993. So these people, they need attention. So I'm looking at this more from the aspect of what my duty is going to be as a representative than really what my responsibilities are going to be in D.C. For me, it's more about figuring out the popular will of the voters, that it's not really that I need to make a big decision, that I make the decision. It's more that I need to go around and test the waters, and I need to make the majority decision, whether it's my own vote or not.
So with respect to the situation in Jackson and in the district in general, how would you seek to improve that as a member of the U.S. House?
Well, I mean, getting the control back to the people who are going to be in good government, because we've got new supervisors in who want to do the right thing, but Benny holds the strings over everything in Hinds County. So until Benny lets them do the right thing to do, we're always going to have this kind of hold on Hinds County, on the whole district. And what goes in Hinds County pretty much goes on everywhere, just at a smaller scale. Okay.
So he's been there 30 years.
He has been.
Are you a fan of term limits for members of the House?
Well, see, that's another thing. I'm not supposed to really have an opinion on that. My job is to find out what my constituents want. Do my constituents want term limits? And at first, my whole attitude was, yeah, we need to have term limits. But then I hit Philip Gunn with that and said, do you believe in term limits? And he turned around to me and said, well, you should have naturally, people will term limit themselves, but if you move into 12-year term limits, the lobbyists are going to take over because you got fresh meat coming in. So that has led me into the fact that, if we're going to make these decisions about things like term limits, we need to explore them a little bit further than just yes and no, we need to get them out. Because I've even thought about, I'm lucky, I don't have to give up my businesses. I'm self-employed. But if we have representatives that come in and are there for 12 years, what kind of career are they going to be able to walk out of? So if we can have clean elections, then we need to think, we may not need term limits because of the fact that the voters of that district will decide when they want their person to leave.
Have you run for office before?
Never.
First time.
First time.
You felt like that this is something you needed to do.
Well, it kind of fell into my lap with my advertising business.
Okay.
Actually, Carl Boyenton had reached out to one of my business partners, and so we, as a team...
He running for Congress in the 4th District.
Yes, but this was back in 2022.
Right.
So we went down and met with him. I walked away thinking he really didn't like anything that I'd said, and I was like, I really don't want to get into politics anyway. I'd rather stay on the outside and just, as a citizen, pursue my stuff. And he pulled me into it. And then we ended up in the Flowers campaign, my 4-man team. And, going through that experience and knowing that we needed the whole team, it was about beating Benny. Mm-hmm. And now, I can't control anybody else folding once they get up there to D.C. or doing what they're supposed to do for the people. So I just decided I needed to. And I realized that as far as my business goes and being in advertising, there's no difference in my market as an advertiser and a constituency. I'm supposed to figure out what the majority wants and then give it to them.
Any thoughts about some of the high-profile issues at the federal level, the border, the economy, foreign policy, et cetera?
Oh, I have lots of opinions on that. Yeah, close the border, stop sending money overseas, because as I see it, people talk about how they're spending our tax money. No, they're putting it on our credit card. So I want, when it comes down to shutting down the border, shutting down the government, I as a regular voter think shut it down. I don't want any more credit extended to the United States. So yeah, I have a lot of opinions about that, but I have big problems in District 2 as well. Like I said, I live in Jackson, and I live in between two of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the state. And at New Year's Eve, all night, we listen to rounds of gunfire. And I'm not talking about boop, boop. I'm talking about tick, 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 that we can tell the difference between not bottle rockets, but that go off, a whole bunch of them, and gun. Yeah. And
do you feel like this is something you'd be able to fix it if you were a member of the U.S. House?
I do, because we've got people. The voters have got to be approached. Benny has had them programmed for so many years that somebody has got to be able to get out in the middle of the people and figure out what they need, figure out what their problems are. If you take a ride up into the Delta, those people have been so just left behind. And it's not really that they live in this horrible situations. Some of them do, but it's crime-ridden, just like it is here in Jackson. But, nobody cares about them. Benny doesn't care about them. He never has. They're the poorest district. It's the minority district. It lost 60,000 people in the past 10 years. And nobody can tell me why he's getting more counties. The more people that he runs out of the district, the bigger his district gets. So it's just, somebody has got to do something. And as a non-politician coming in, I feel like I can be especially being in advertising and understanding how to read markets, to kind of understand both sides of it and lead people into learning how to form their own opinions. Just like with term limits, instead of, having these two sides, leading people into discussions about, we want to be sure that we get this right so it doesn't bite us in the butt later on. We need to think about our positions on policies.
Have you been traveling through the district and visiting with voters?
I have not traveled. Well, I went to Greenwood. I've not really traveled. It's been I had to rearrange my strategy very early on. I had to kind of pull everything back and get everything together to all launch at once. Mm-hmm. So I have not gotten up there, but I was with Dyson for 5 years, and District 2 was in my territory for that entire 5 years. So I basically ran the whole run of District 2 from Jackson out of either into Vicksburg or up through Yazoo City or up through Grenada and all that, of all the Sears franchise stores for Dyson vacuums. Mm-hmm. So I know the Delta like the back of my hand. I can still see all of those cities in my head from 10 years ago. And I have not gotten to get out there yet, but I will.
Do you feel like there is an appetite among the district, across the district, to make a change?
Yes.
He's been an entrenched incumbent 30 years, as we said.
And it's Democrats. I'm pursuing Democrats. I'm going out as a new person in politics, pursuing people for my party that normally the GOP has not reached out to, because they are open to it. They don't, with all of the people that I approach and help them understand that basically you have a conservative side to both the Republican and the Democrat side. And the majority of people who live in Jackson, Hinds County, and District 2 are conservatives. Mm-hmm. They just don't realize it because they don't understand of the values of the GOP match along with their values you go to church with. Whereas, if you kind of looked into the leftist side of the Democrats, there's some very, the transgender stuff coming out alone out of the far left of the Democratic Party is just enough to stop you in your tracks. And y'all are talking about all that insanity at a federal level. Think about my life living in Jackson, where my new supervisor, it basically has made me very uncomfortable face to face during ballot box inspections. Is I guess the best way that I can make it. Anthony Smith, mm-hmm. to my mayor, to my reps. All the way up. Nobody's doing anything. It's a train wreck. And then I look outside of that at the federal. Imagine what it is for people in District 2 in Jackson.
So you feel like that there's a chance to actually unseat an entrenched incumbent here?
I do, because they're ready for it.
Okay.
I know people in Jackson. I may not know everywhere, but I've got most of the people that I deal with on a daily basis are black, and they're ready.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and good luck on the campaign. Taylor Turcotte, candidate for Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District.
Thank you.
Yep. Coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.